The Exorcist Believer is a 2023 supernatural horror film directed by David Gordon Green with a screenplay by David Gordon Green and Peter Sadler, and it's produced by Blumhouse. The movie runs for 111 minutes long and had a budget of $30 million. This is the sixth installment in the Exorcist franchise and a direct sequel to the 1973 original film The Exorcist, starring Ellen Burstyn and Linda Blair. In this film, we see Leslie Odom Jr.'s character of Victor Fielding, who is Angela's father. Angela is played by Lydia Jewett, who is an amazing character in this. Not only that, we see Ann Dowd as Anne, a nurse and former nun. We also see Catherine. It's Miranda and Tony's daughter. Catherine is played by Olivia Markham. And basically, we start the story with seeing Victor and his wife in Haiti on vacation. The wife is pregnant, and then the earthquake in Haiti happens. And then we fast forward 13 years later. Angela now is in school, and then her and her friend or acquaintance, Catherine, go off into the woods and do this some sort of ritual. And the reason they do this is a minor spoiler, is because Angela wants to speak with her dead mother, and they conjure something up and they become possessed. And then from here on out, it's trying to figure out where these girls are in the woods, what happened, and the aspect of this whole demonic possession. What's true, what's not true, what's belief, what's not believable, the sanity of it, the insanity of it. Like, everything is really interesting. The movie so far, when you watch it or when I saw it, is very different and twofolds of a subject. And by what I mean by that is, the first half is a missing persons case. These two girls are missing for 3 days. They come back and they're not who they say they are. Victor Fielding, Leslie Odom Jr., is one of the strongest characters I've seen in a horror supernatural film in a very long time. When the daughter comes back, Angela, she's not who she is, but you see some kind of tendencies and things changing, and she's changing as well. Catherine's also changing, but the focus is more so on Angela than Catherine. We see Catherine going through some things, like both girls are barefoot, they have scars on them, and they slowly start turning into the demonic entity that is possessing both of them. It's not really explained who this or what this thing is, or it is this demonic entity. In the original 1973 film, we knew it was Pazuzu. In this, we have no idea who's possessing these girls, but we do know why they're possessing them and what happened, because Angela wanted to speak to her mother. Well, as the movie progresses, Victor kind of goes and tries to search for the truth and what's happening. Like, he doesn't believe that his daughter's being possessed. He doesn't believe any of that. The movie heavily relies on spiritual aspect of story, myth, fact, truth, lies, conspiracy theories, whatever it is, you name it. It might raise some questions in that kind of area of the religious belief and the sect and the culture and whatever it is. Victor doesn't believe any of that. But Anne, the nurse, the neighbor, played by Ann Dowd, who was a phenomenal actress, was a former nun, or was going to be a nun, and something happened to her character. And she understands that, but then she gives a book to Victor, and it's a book by Chris McNeil, Ellen Burstyn's character, the mother from the very original film in 1970, Reagan's mother. Now, Victor goes to see Chris McNeil, asking what's going on, what's happening. We then get a backstory that Reagan is somewhere else. The mother doesn't know where she is. But then, Victor brings along Chris to introduce or show what's happening to his daughter and the friend. Well, evidently, Chris McNeil and the demons know who she is. She goes to Catherine's, and she just comes face to face with the demonic entity, and craziness ensues. I did not like what they did with Ellen Burstyn's character in this movie at all. It felt like a cop-out. They didn't know what to do with her. I mean, it's a legacy sequel. They just brought her in to do that. But then it's kind of in a way where you're moving the story forward. I understand that. I get that. But don't bring this character in 50 years later, who's now in maybe her 70s or 80s, who went through something like this in the 50 years ago, but then now something happens to her now. I felt like it was a cop-out, didn't really work. That That scene in this film felt like the Dr. Sardan twist in Halloween. If you take that part out, it's a good movie. You take this part out as to what happened to Chris McNeil, it's a good film. Not only that, all of a sudden everything starts going. We have to figure out what's happening, what's going on. And then the exorcism starts. You have Anne, you have the Victor, you have the family, Catherine's family, you have the family's priest from the church, you have the aspect of the everything's happening, but it's one of those aspects of the possession and exorcism that really doesn't capture the essence of what the original film captured in 1973. And the reason I say that is because in 1973, people didn't know what horror was. Didn't know the aspect of horror. People didn't see horror in their daily lives. But once everything happened and 50 years later, we're so into horror that you're not scared of certain things anymore. And the possession was interesting. It was good, but I didn't feel any sympathy for any of the characters. Maybe one, and that's Catherine. Just the way she was yelling out, "Mom, I don't want to go to hell," or what happens to her character, and the aspect of seeing what happens to her is really creepy, especially with the hands and the demonic entities that are happening. It's really different. And the aspect of how Angela kind of in a way pulls through with her father Victor, and how Victor is the strong one, you can tell who the weak one is. But when you have two possessed entities, it's powerful, and it is powerful. The aspect of the pea soup is there when Catherine spits in Anne's face. The power of Christ compels you is in it. The dogs fighting, the white horse, and the head turning scene, which was underwhelming because that part is CGI and it happens to one of the characters. The also aspect is when Catherine and the family are in Sunday service church, and Catherine is masturbating in church in front of her brother and little sister, her little brother and sister, and then she disappears. And then it's in the trailer. She comes back. She says, "The body and the blood, the body and the blood." It's the blood from. Well, I'll just leave it at that. And the essence of how everything is was okay. There were some moments where it wasn't scary, but it was reliable on jump scares. And the opening sequence and the look of the film or the movie had that 70s look of it to the original 1973 Exorcist, with the grainy look, the grittiness of it, but it just didn't capture it. And when you have jump scares, it doesn't work. There were not many voices or demonic entities speaking. When it was happening, great. I was excited. But then it just died down. It wasn't emphasized on how and what could have been, which was really lackluster. But when the story is by Scott Teems, David Gordon Green, and Danny McBride, I don't know what to think anymore. Halloween 2018 and the subsequent movies after that, Kills and Ends, it got worse. Halloween 2018, phenomenal. Take that Dr. Sartan twist out, it's a great movie. Kills, it's just Michael Myers going on his killing spree. Ends, we know what happens. But this is a new part of a story trilogy where it's The Exorcist Believer, which is out, and then The Exorcist Deceiver, which is scheduled for April 2025, and then the third and final film. Something happens where we do see Reagan. It brings Linda Blair back, which was a nice touch. Tubular Bells happens at the end of this film. Great to hear that once again in the theater. But as a cohesive unit, the movie just didn't work at all. It's 111 minutes of psychological aspect where it could have been good, and I call this the Insidious scare, where when Victor is speaking to his daughter in the bedroom after they find her, she's just laying there talking to her father, and all of a sudden right behind Victor there is a figure. Very quick, very instant. If you don't pay attention to it, you'll miss it. But when I saw it, I was like, holy shit. I was like, wow, that's the Insidious scare. Anything like that, it's good. It's effective. It works. But then the way Catherine was, where she's looking at the camera, the way Angela was when she's looking at the camera, it's creepy. It's unsettling. They captured those moments. And the actress, Catherine, that plays her, Olivia Markham, was really great. She looks like a young Linda Blair from the 1973 film. Certain instances, certain aspects. But the demons that possess these two know who Chris McNeil is. They know who Reagan is. My thing is, in the subsequent sequel, Deceiver, and then maybe the third movie, which could be called Redeemer, who knows what it will be called. I feel like this film itself was just a way to bring out Reagan and to bring her out of the hiding, and then something happens that proceeds everything forward on. I feel like it's going to be different. It's going to be story driven. This movie was story driven, but it wasn't the aspect of what you see and feel. It's not scary. It's psychological. There are great shot scenes in this. There are some moments where you go, holy shit. But it's not the Exorcist movie that you want to go into and seeing what you actually think you're going to see. If you want that, just watch the 1973 version and you're more than satisfied. Is it a good sequel or a direct sequel? No. You feel for certain characters, but like I said, I felt no sympathy at all. It just didn't work. It could have been better. I'm really hoping that something changes. Whereas the sequel, we see more of what's happening with Reagan and Chris McNeil. Like I said, did not like what happened to Ellen Burstyn's character at all. Cop out. Was really underwhelmed by it. But the only thing that maybe saved this film was Victor's character, Angela, and Catherine, and certain scenes that will stick with you, like the body and the blood, the shot behind Victor, aspects of the subliminal imagery that flashes on screen, which if you blink, you'll really miss it. They try to capture that, and it's just really interesting how everything goes. And it's a really easy story to follow. It's really quick, and I mean, Blumhouse paid $400 million with the intention of making this a new trilogy. Hopefully that will pay off, but we will see. For me, The Exorcist Believer gets 2 out of 5 stars. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about The Exorcist Believer. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think of it? What did you think about the aspect of the story, this being a direct sequel to the 1973 film? Did you like that this is a legacy sequel? What was your favorite scene? What was your least favorite scene? Did you feel sympathy for any of the characters? Who was the strongest character? Who were the weakest characters? What was your favorite shot? What was your least favorite shot? And do you like how, and do you think that this was more horror-based, thriller-based, supernatural? And do you agree with certain things that characters did in this, or did you want more? Let me know in the comment section below about all of the questions I just asked. And be sure you click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for new review videos on my channel. And let me know what rating you would give The Exorcist Believer. I'll see you all in the next review video. I'm Mr. Filmstock, and thank you so much for tuning in.